Hi, my name is Samantha. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's video, we're going to be making some table tent numbers. How these work is that you go ahead and they're folded and they have two little slits. So you just interlock them and then they sit up on their own. Let's get into it. For this project, you'll need 3 pieces of material. First off is a legal sheet of paper, extra long, and then this is cover weight. I'll go ahead and have the supplies linked below. You'll need, I have scrapbook paper here to cut into the background colors. If you want them all to be the same, I would suggest getting your cardstock at Michael's or Joann's in the loose leaf section, because then you can get many sheets of the same kind. If you're not concerned about every single one being exactly the same, then you can go ahead and get a scrapbook paper pad, which will be much cheaper, but every couple table numbers will be different, but it'll be of the same theme. The last thing you'll need is some vinyl. To make 18 table numbers, I used 4 feet of vinyl. So this was a 5-foot roll. So I have less than 5 feet left because I also had to do my tester. So those are the 3 pieces of material you'll need. So I used my Cricut to go ahead and cut out the white sheets of paper. You get 2 table tents per sheet of paper, and I'll go ahead and have my Etsy shop linked down below where you could purchase blank tabletops from me if you want to make these in whatever color you want. Then from the scrapbook paper, I cut 4 squares, so that'll get you 2 table tents because you need 1 for each side. And then for the vinyl roll, I just went ahead and I'll show a picture here of how I just interlocked every word so that I could maximize my vinyl use. If I would have just left it the way it was, I think I would have needed 8 feet or something of vinyl, like an insane amount because of how many gaps there were. But you can always be more efficient. Never cut how your Cricut says you should cut. Always go ahead and adjust your pieces, and then you can maximize your usage. All right, let's make these table numbers. So I have my supplies all cut and ready to go. I have the table tents, so it is just a piece of paper with 2 slits. And then I've had, what am I trying to say? I cut the backgrounds and weeded the vinyl last night, and I just had it smushed in my heavy vinyl scrapbook. If you haven't seen my video on vinyl organization, go ahead and check that out. I'll have it linked. So I was just trying to flatten things out some to make it a little easier. So I have all my words right here. And then all my backgrounds. Here's a quick look if you wanted to check it out. See, I have all my vinyl in this scrapbook. All right, so let me flip you around. All right, like I said, I have all my supplies right here. I'm gonna set my table tents to the side. I don't need them right this second. So I'm, even with leaving these smushed, they're still a little bent. That's okay, I'll fix it later. So I got my transfer tape here, and you can tell it's a little used. That's good because I don't wanna rip up the paper. Sometimes if you use fresh transfer tape, it's a little too sticky and you'll end up ripping your paper. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use these grid lines, and I'm gonna use the word table and number, and I'm gonna try to line it up best I can on a straight line. Then I'm gonna varnish. Flip, varnish once more. And then you always pull your project away. Like this. All right, so now I can take this, I can use the grids on here to line up and have it be straight. So that looks pretty straight to me. So now I'm gonna varnish. See, if this was super sticky, then I would end up tearing up the paper. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slowly pull away at an angle. Okay, so like this one has a little mess up because it's missing this little guy right here, but that's okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and do my whole stack here, and anything that's missing, like maybe I miss a O or something, I'll just go back at the end and I'll add all those pieces on and I'll fix it at the end. So now I'm gonna speed it up and do the rest. All right, I've got my big pile of trash, and then I've got my table numbers. So let's go back through, make sure I'm not missing anything. I always like to make extras all the time. It's too stressful to work on a craft and not have any extra. You gotta have a little wiggle room. So let's see, 13,
6, 3, 2, 4, 14, 18, 1, 11, 17, 5, 16, 15, 9, 12, 8, 10,
check. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Perfect. Okay, so the next step is adhering our backgrounds onto the table tents. So we need to attach these together. I'm gonna go get my ATG gun. All right, I've got my ATG Advanced Tape Glider. This thing is absolutely amazing. Highly, highly recommend. You can see here that it's about to run out of tape, so I'm actually gonna have to refill it during this video. And so I grabbed some extra tape. So I definitely like to use dry tape over wet glue just for bubbles and consistency and quickness. So what I'm going to do is I want to cover as much of the surface area as possible. So I like to do a box, and I like to go as tight to the corners as I feel comfortable, and then either do 2 lines so that it's flat, and or do an X. This will definitely give you plenty of surface area coverage. And then taking our table tent, so this is the bottom, we're just going to go ahead and line it up. Do our best to square it. And there we go. So now we're going to have to do this to the other side. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so now it says table number 1, table number 1. You do these two little things, you connect them into one another, and there you go. There's your table tent. So I'm going to speed this up and go ahead and do the rest. Make sure that you put it on facing the right direction and that you have the same number on both sides. All right, we are all done with all of the table numbers. You could be done right here, or you could take one more step to ensure they're super flat, and that is running them through the laminator. I have already run these through once when they were just a piece of just the white paper. I already ran them through one time, but I'm going to go ahead and run them through a second time to ensure that they are perfectly flat. And then the last thing will be to go through and make sure nothing is missing a letter, everything is adhered on all the corners, and it's done. Okay, all of the table tents have been through the laminator, so now I've just got a heavy book and I'm going to let them sit overnight, the book on top, so that'll help keep them flat.